I got into a minor disagreement with my mother-in-law today. Or so I thought it was a minor disagreement. She's staying with us for the weekend to spend time with our son, 4 months old. We, myself, father-in-law, husband, and some friends, went out last night to the bowling alley and didn't get back until around 3 a.m. She's watched them plenty of times before and once overnight. When we left, she put him to sleep. After we gave her instructions on how to put him to sleep. He used to be a terrible sleeper. We worked really hard to get him to the point where he's able to sleep through the night. We found the perfect circumstances to get him to sleep for 11 hours, and it works every night. Needless to say, she didn't do these things. She left his door wide open. He only sleeps in absolute darkness with the door shut. Turned his sound machine off. He sleeps terribly without it, and set the thermostat to a really low temperature because it's too hot for him to sleep like that. When we got home, I turned the thermostat back up to the desired temperature, and she changed it back to her preferred setting within an hour. The baby woke up several hours earlier than usual. It wasn't until the morning that I realized she also turned his sound machine off. I tried to politely confront her about this issue, but she got very offended. I requested that in the future she could do things the way we, our son's parents, prefer, because it was difficult to get our son into a routine and babies' routines can be disrupted easily. She started saying that everyone has different opinions and does things differently. The sound machine was too loud for him, and it was too dark for him with the door closed. She also was underfeeding him because she felt like he was gaining too much weight. I said something along the lines of my parenting choices not being a matter of her opinion. She said that I can put him to sleep tonight. I don't really understand how she thought she did something with that statement because I put him to sleep every night. She got angry and stormed off to the guest room, and I haven't seen her since. Everyone thought that I was being a jerk. I don't know if I am or not. I just don't feel like it's acceptable to disregard our son's routine because she has a different opinion. And now for some comments on the story. You're not in the wrong. You can't underfeed a 4 months old because you think they are gaining too much weight. Mima needs to pull it together. Not in the wrong, but clearly she's not a safe person to leave alone with your child. You would actually be in the wrong if you still leave your kid with her. It seems like she doesn't like you and will do things against what you wish just to be contrary and mess with you. She's shown that she doesn't care about the well-being of your child in her pursuits of punishing you. That's just dangerous. Not in the wrong. I don't get why she couldn't just keep to your working routine for a single night. My mom, for example, has 6 grandchildren, now between ages of 8 and 15. When they were younger and would have 1 or 2 for a night, she would ask things like, what time do they go down? What time are feeds? Make sure to bring their blankie/comforter/sound thing if they have one, and so on. Yes, it wouldn't be identical, but very close. Shout out to my mom too, who recently had all 6 for a 3-night sleepover. I have a buddy named George. He's 50-year-old male. He's a nice guy but tends to get into a lot of legal trouble. He lost his license years ago and has been thrown in jail for driving without a license and not paying child support. I disagree with his choice of not paying child support and think it's a jerk move for his kid, let alone work under the table to avoid it. But I digress. Last year he was diagnosed with cancer. He's finished treatment and is on the mend. He quit smoking and was turning his life around. Then one day he went back to his old habits, including driving without a license and therefore being uninsured. He knows it's against the law, and he still does it anyway. I'm worried about others on the road. What if he gets into an accident? Not only will this ruin his life, but others as well, especially his youngest child, 15 male, and wife. The reason why I'm asking if I will be in the wrong is because if I call and he gets arrested, and let's face it, he will be thrown in jail, his son and wife will be majorly affected. It was very hard on him when his dad was in jail a couple of years ago. Also, they depend on his income for rent and food. She works, but it's not enough, given how expensive the cost of living is in the city. Edit. I notice a lot of people keep saying that he and I are friends. We are not. We're acquaintances. We work at the same job. I tend to use buddies as a replacement for acquaintances. That's my fault. Sorry for the confusion. So he lost his license but not paying child support, not paying off previous fines, toll roads, highways, and letting his license lapse. I heard from another buddy that he was caught drinking and driving, but I'm not sure about the whole story and if it was true or how much of it is true. That was before I knew him. I take what I hear from that guy with a grain of salt because he tends to be the gossip of the workplace. Now for some comments on the story. No, you're not on the wrong. People trying to say you shouldn't do anything because you're his friend are wrong. We don't know why he lost his license or why he's unable to get a second one. A good friend's mother died on Christmas when an unlicensed driver veered into the carpool lane and crashed into their car. This was over 20 years ago, and he has never recovered from that tragedy and blames himself because he was driving even though the other driver caused the accident. People lose licenses for a reason. He lost his for a reason. You could be saving a life or multiple lives by preventing him from driving. Not in the wrong. You're probably saving a lot of lives if you do say something to the authorities. He knows he shouldn't do it, but does it anyway. How would he feel if someone was driving a car without license and a driver killed someone from his family due to their negligence? He needs to look at it from a different perspective. Not in the wrong. This guy is a loose cannon. But you'll be putting his kid and wife in a position that is horrible. Tough situation. When I, a 26-year-old female, met my 34-year-old husband's mom, I hoped for a healthy mother figure type relationship. She's okay-ish, but she can be a little controlling given that my husband is her only child. She tends to act super protective of him. When I got pregnant, my mother-in-law made a request to be the first person to hold my son after he's born. She wanted to be in the delivery room with me, but I refused to let her in. My husband said he'd keep her out of the room under the condition that she'd be the first one to hold the baby. I did not agree but didn't disagree as well, just stayed silent. The baby was born days ago. All my husband was worried about was having his mom be the first to meet the baby, but she was out of town attending a friend's daughter's wedding. He said she wouldn't be back till 2 days later, and mom and sis already came to help, and they held my son as they were helping me after my husband went back to work. I had no help, and they were my go-to. Mother-in-law and my husband knew. They both went off and started throwing a fit saying that I betrayed her, and that I made a promise and broke it. My husband tried to get her to calm down after she came home lashing out, but she scolded us both and walked out. He blew up at me saying I screwed up and violated the agreement we had. I said that mom and sister were helping me out and held a baby, so what? He got more pissed and claimed I had no respect for his mother and her wishes, and told me that I hurt her feelings and ruined her grandbaby's first memory. I just couldn't keep arguing. He called me unbelievably selfish and demanded I fix my mistake, but I wasn't sure what he meant by that. Like redo the baby's purse and have his mom be the first to hold him? He didn't appreciate my sarcasm and said that what I did was sneaky and cold-hearted. He said he should have let his mom in a delivery room, otherwise none of this would have happened. They are both still salty about it and are sulking hard. Am I in the wrong? And now for some comments. Wouldn't the first person to hold the baby always be you? The mom? Your mother-in-law and your husband are both jerks. You are not in the wrong. Not in the wrong. It seems like your husband and his mom are under the impression that they have a choice in any of this. This is what we like to call wrong. Not in the wrong. If she wanted this ludicrous deal upheld, then she should have at least made sure she was available after the baby was born. Instead, she goes out of town for 2 days and yet expects no one else to touch the baby? Your mother-in-law is an entitled narcissist, and your husband has shown which side he comes down on when push comes to shove. Good luck living with that arrangement. Some background information. So the building or the cafe that I work at was built in the 1750s and is therefore a listed building. Because of that, we cannot knock down walls, so we are tight on space. A consequence of that is that we only have enough space for one women's toilet and one men's toilet. No baby changing facilities in either. There is, however, a public toilet block no more than 50 meters away from our premises. It has multiple baby changing facilities in both the female and the male toilet blocks. The story. So, a family came into the cafe and they sat down, ate and drank, and then one of her babies must have pooped. It's snappy because she came and asked whether we had any changing facilities. I apologized then, informed her that we did not. But I pointed out the public toilets and said that they were free and had everything she would need. She said it was okay, and proceeded to change the child right on the chair in front of me. I told her that we cannot allow that, as it's disturbing the other customers and that it really isn't sanitary, especially as we have fresh pastries and cakes on display. And she went crazy mad, saying that it's the law that we need to let her change her child wherever she wants, especially if we are unwilling to provide her with suitable changing facilities. I said that she's more than willing to phone the police, but we cannot let her change her child like this. I again pointed out the public toilets and said that she needed to leave and change her child there. Her whole family got up, left, and looked at me like I was a sexist bigot. So what do you think? Am I in the wrong? This being a case for where exceptions exist. It's not that you don't want to provide child-changing services. It's that the laws won't allow you due to the age of the building and its significance. By directing to the public stations down the street is an acceptable compromise. A mother changing in the middle of an eatery is a health issue for everyone. You're definitely not in the wrong. Not in the wrong. Maybe they shouldn't go to restaurants that don't have changing areas if she's going to be such a confidently incorrect entitled jerk about it. Not in the wrong. Surprised that she didn't do it right on the table, as she sounds like a person who would. Same type of people who bring the bodies on a plane and let their kids poop in it while sitting in the aisle. We cannot count on every bathroom having a changing table, so I used to carry a folding changing mat that's odd use on the floor but in a proper place like a bathroom. You were right to tell her off.